What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, and this is part 11 of my deep dive into the Moody Blues studio catalog. Never heard a complete album before. I did, but with an asterisk. Watch the first video for that explanation. So I decided to go through and discover this band that is ranked really highly among rock bands, prog bands, should be higher ranked among psych bands because its psych angle is ridiculous. So we're on album number 11. We're up to 1983. I'm going to talk about my experience with this, and then I will rank it among the other 10 I've already done. Looked at the track listing, did not recognize any of the songs, though it turns out I do know one of them. Know it very well. I thought I only knew three when I started. Turns out I know a lot more. Not always knew it was the Moody Blues. A couple of them, like Timothy Leary's Legend of the Mind, I was like, oh yeah, obviously the Moody Blues. Other ones, I just thought it was some like, I don't know who I thought it was. So this album is what I think I would call a creeper, and that it's one of those, like, maybe the first time you listen to it, it doesn't quite blow you away, but if you listen to it again and again, it kind of starts to creep up on you, and you're like, wait a minute, it's actually pretty compelling and maybe good. I don't know. It's not a bad album. I do think the fact that it's 1983 puts it in a really weird place. It exists in this vacuum where neither punk nor disco seem to have ever existed, or post-punk or metal or hard rock or anything like that. The evolution of the Moody Blues out of their early 70s sort of state of music, whatever you want to call what they were, is towards soft rock, it seems like. And this album both has this almost Alan Parsons sheen to it, like this 80s Alan Parsons soft rock vibe that coming out in 83, and now we have 80 production starting to seep in here and some 80s sounds that maybe don't date so well. Some of it was a little hard the first couple times to listen to, but what this album also has is this War on Drugs-esque type of songwriting or song bringing to life. If you're the War on Drugs fan, their songs have this I always imagine their songs as being these really linear journeys. They fall into this groove, they take off on this groove, guitars come in, synths come in, maybe some percussion comes in, the vocals come in, and it's this very just like, there's a flow to the album, the flow to their songs. Like you're on the freeway, but you're not going 100 and you're not going 30, you're going like a steady 65, maybe 40 sometimes, maybe 80 sometimes, but you're pretty much in a normal driving range. And all of these songs almost fall into some kind of really cool groove that, had they not been produced in the 80s, I think would be better. But at the core, there's something really, really, really cool about a number of these songs. Then towards the end of the album, things get weird, as Moody Blues albums do, and you're like, oh yeah, at least they're still keeping it weird. Like when I listen to this, one of the notes I wrote down was like, I gotta salute the commitment. Like, if this album had dropped in 77, it just seems like it would have been much bigger than it is. Like, I was actively seeking out music in 1983, and this thing was barely on my radar. I knew the one song that, at least, I think only one song was a single, because only one song I know. Did nothing for me at the time. I didn't hate it, didn't love it. It was just there. Don't even think I knew it was the Moody Blues. But the rest of the stuff on here, the more I listen to it, I'm starting to warm up to it. Opens up with a song called Blue World, which calm, soft rock, soft pop, late 70s Alan Parsons vibe. It's like, it's beautiful. Got an awesome War on Drugs type groove. I think it's like, there's slight progginess into just the overall vibe of it. But it works. The opening track, I think, really works. It's like a soft, comfortable blanket of soft rock in the 80s. It's a comforting but somewhat intriguing vibe. The second song, Meet Me Halfway, I don't think it's quite as effective as Blue World, but the 1-2 punch of Blue World, Meet Me Halfway, works really, really well. Great bass playing. I love the melody of the verses. It's definitely got more of a War on Drugs vibe, I think, than the opener. It's just a really good, the flow between the first and the second song sets up the album beautifully. Then we get the song I know, Sitting at the Wheel. I I I'm pretty sure I like this song less now than I did as like a 13-year-old, you know, getting into like heavy metal and hard rock and hearing this on the radio. I didn't really ever hate it. I knew like, oh, I was as soon as it started, I was like, oh, I know this song, do 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 do, you know, all the weird little changes in it, but it's just infected with that 80s disease. I just can't separate it from my own experiences like a preteen, 80s sound, some cheesy synths. Some of the like arrangement of the song just feels like we're trying to get an early 80s radio hit. Um, I haven't really come around to this song, and it ruins what I think is a really strong 1-2 punch. If you like the song and it was a single, I have no idea if it charted or anything like that. I got a lot of radio play because it's the one song on this album I know. If you like this song, then the sequencing on this album is perfect. Blue World, kind of a slow burning low key. Meet Me Halfway keeps that flow, and then we got a nice pop track. Um, Good sequencing works much better than if Sitting at the Wheel was the opener, I think. But I don't like Sitting at the Wheel. Just next song, Going Nowhere. Very slow, kind of ballady, but just awesome layers. The production is great. They're doing so many things with the song as the song goes. It's this nice little cool little about midway through this upbeat little like gets a little bit more upbeat section that's really cool. Goes really well. It's a nice sort of switch up. And that's the end of the first side. Then we get to the second side and they start getting a little more experimental, or they start dipping into their more like concept album playbook. First track is Hole in the World, this really calm, marching, like drum beat that just kind of emerges out of silence. And it has just this really nice, steady march to it that goes directly into the next song, Under My Feet, which has, it's kind of a, it reminds me if like a Ween soft rock song on the latter half of Chocolate and Cheese, or maybe even on White Pepper. Not quite 70s enough for that, but maybe on one of those two albums, I think it would fit. It's just got this really nice momentum, this nice sort of strolling soft rock vibe. There's some great horn energy that comes in. The song really, really, really builds well over the course of its like almost 5 minutes. And then the end of it, they go back to that beat that was in Hole in the World, the instrumental song that preceded it, which is only like 2 minutes long, and they go back to that drum march and they kind of fade out with a shorter, much shorter version of that. Really nice opening. It's Cold Outside of Your Heart, as the title might suggest, is flirting with country. Starts off really strong. Short little sort of intro to the song in which it almost has a very late night, band is tired, bar is tired, we're still going to play one more song. It's not like a rockin' closer, we're just going to like play it out. We get that sort of instrumental vibe, but then we slide into what is more like just a soft rock country song. And I think if they had stuck around with that just slightly like woozier musical section that opens it, this could have been a really special song. And just its presence alone, I think, would have provided a little more diversity to this album in a good way. But it's a pretty interesting song. Running Water, very soft rocky, almost have like a Gordon Lightfoot, but Gordon Lightfoot light type vibe. Okay. And then we get two kind of weird random songs to close out. We get I Am, which is almost like by far the most experimental thing on here. This sort of Peter Gabriel, like atmospheric third world light type musical exploration, but it's almost just weirder than that. It's a strange little 1 minute and 40 seconds that goes directly into the closing track, Sorry, which is also kind of a strange song, has a bunch of different sections in it, has a nice hokey country jammy part in it at one point. Opens up into this really cool groove after like a kind of a fading in out of I Am. It's just kind of a strange song to close the album, reminding you that, hey, this is the Moody Blues. We're going to resort to strangeness almost always at some point on the album. I'm realizing about this band. I don't know like what my overall feeling of this album is. I wish Sitting at the Wheel was maybe not on it. It's the one roadblock early in the album. Because while there are parts that I eventually get into, I think the opening is just so 80s and it just puts me off the really cool groove of the two first tracks where I'm like able to ignore the 80s-ness of it because the songs and the grooves are so strong. Then I lose it at Sitting at the Wheel. And Going Nowhere is good, but it's not great. It's Cold could have been great. Running doesn't do much for me. The weirdness at the end is weirdness at the end, but I don't know how like infinitely listenable it is. It's not a bad album. I definitely think it's a step down from Long Distance Voyager, which is like just a perfect encapsulation of Moody Blues incorporating legitimate soft rock into their sound. But this one, I don't know, just it's not getting its hooks into me as much as the previous album did. But I do like it. I will say that. It's not an album that I think is in any way bad. Um, though the one song does bother me. Where would I rank this? If I were to rank this, and I am, that's why I'm doing this. Among the other ones that I did, I have it towards the bottom. Um, these are all great albums, right? But to me, I think this is, if I'm going to go back and listen to any of these albums again, I think this is the one that least interests me as far as going like, oh, I got to check that out again. Because I've only been listening to them for a couple months now, right? That's 11 albums, maybe not even a couple months. It may be a couple months that I started this thing. And a lot of these I still want to go back and visit because I know they haven't fully revealed their secrets to me yet, especially all the stuff from the 70s. And I'm not sure there are as many secrets to be revealed on this album, so I'm less excited to go back to it. But I would still say it's a good album. I mean, 11 albums into their career, and they're still putting out good albums. None of these are bad. None of these, I honestly thought once we hit the late 70s, early 80s, these were going to be catastrophes. This is nowhere near a catastrophe, and there's actually a couple pretty strong, enjoyable songs in here. Great start. And I would say if you like Sitting at the Wheel, you would rank this higher, and I would think it would make sense. But yeah, those are my thoughts on this. Really interested to hear what your thoughts are. I've been wrong a couple times on what the general zeitgeist or what the general opinion of an album is. Not that I've been wrong, but I've been over here saying one thing and the rest of the Moody Blues fandom is over here saying the other. So I'm interested in if our paths cross in any way on this album. We're definitely in the 80s. We're definitely much farther away from Psych and the early prog stuff. We're still not writing bad songs. It's just a different sound that just might not be as compelling as their other sounds. Those are my final words on this album. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Let me know your thoughts on this album. Defend Sitting at the Wheel for me. Why should I like it? And yeah, that's what I got. Peace. Did I say subscribe, like, share, comment, do those things? I may have. I don't know. Peace. Talk to you later.